Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back. Certainly an interesting and insightful episode in store for you today because we are joined by none other than the editor-in-chief of Real Health Magazine, www.realhealthmag.com, Kate Ferguson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. I'm so happy to be here.
Kate, I'm so happy to have you because it's always fascinating to talk to people such as yourself who have been in this industry for many, many, many years and are in a position of power and influence, and you see so many things. So before we get into the things you've seen and liked and not liked, can you tell us a bit about your story, how you got to where you are today?
Okay, well, before I came to this company, I was the editor-in-chief of a women's lifestyle magazine, and part of that content included health information. Unfortunately, it was just in a very limited way. It was about a page of health content, and I'm a health and fitness fanatic, and I'm always working out. So I really got involved, in more health content and wanting to be able to share information with other people as to, things that I thought would be helpful to make people have a better quality of life, be healthier, happier, saner. And, I started to look around and I connected with Real Health. It's a company called Smart and Strong in New York City that puts out this publication. And Real Health Magazine is their African-American product, as well as they have, different brands, but they're all health education related. So that's how I came to be here.
And what did you see as, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I am hearing is that you were dissatisfied with the maybe quantity and quality and diversity of health information that was out there. You saw an opportunity to diversify and improve the quality of the health information out there. So what were those major gaps that you wanted to see filled?
Well, some of the major gaps I wanted to see filled, in the Black community in particular, there's a huge obesity problem, and that was not really being addressed in any kind of meaningful way, I thought, especially with the women's lifestyle magazines. I mean, there's always information out there about how to, drop pounds, but as far as connecting health and science and just that type of coming at it from that type of angle, that was not there. So I saw an opportunity, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's the direction that I went into.
Kate, have you seen in your work with Real Health Mag, have you seen specific approach? Like, what is the unique lens that you and your publication have applied to obesity in the Black community in a unique fashion?
Well, I think a lot of this has to do with policy issues in particular. There are not enough fresh food and produce venues in African-American neighborhoods. And that's one of the things that I saw that was not being properly addressed. In addition, the supermarkets that are in our neighborhoods, the way that they are set up is very counterproductive to health. I mean, you walk into a supermarket, the first thing that you might see perhaps are the chips and the little cakes and cookies, fast junk foods, the produce way back there somewhere in the dark where you can't see it. So that's the type of thing that we're looking at as far as having interventions where you're having the city plan or include in their plans this type of approach so that people can start to change behaviors, which is key in getting a better quality of life through healthier means and methods.
Kate, we always hear these lifestyle changes, as you just touched on, these behavior changes, and certainly we've heard the same message for the past 40 years pretty consistently. We just need to eat less and exercise more, and eat less and exercise more. And I was talking with my wife over the weekend, and I came up with an analogy, which I'm curious to get your thoughts on, and that's, is telling someone who is obese and diabetic and living in a context in which it's very difficult to eat nutrient-dense food, just to eat less and exercise more, a bit like telling someone who may be suffering from depression, and is in a very negative context just to frown less and smile more.
Yeah, it's a little too simplistic, I think, Jonathan, to say just, eat less and exercise more. There are certain behaviors the changes that have to take place in people's habits and their behaviors in order for them to achieve the best results in this area. Just to say eat less, that's a little simplistic, as I said, because you really have to eat to lose. That's one of the things that you find out when you apply the science to healthy weight loss. There's no such thing as eating less, because if you eat less, your metabolism is going to slow down. I mean, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not trying to say that I am, but these are, scientific truths that need to be applied to weight loss interventions that aren't really being stated in the ones that you see popularly around in the media or in magazines. So it's a little more than just eat less and exercise more. It's a little more than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It really, I think that message disrespects the context that we live in, as well as the biology that underpins why we develop these chronic conditions. And Kate, I'm curious, what have you seen as some of these lifestyle changes, or just in general, maybe they're unpopular, but they work and they're true?
I think perhaps one of the things that I see in general is if people would stop reaching for those sodas, those sugary drinks. I mean, one of the things that I'm here in New York City with Mayor Bloomberg, and a lot of what he's trying to do is not very popular. I mean, they're putting a spin on getting rid of the sugary drinks that really shouldn't be there, because they're kind of inflaming people's passions. Now Big Brother is trying to tell you what to do. How dare he? But if you think about it like this, and I'll use this as an example. Years ago, people didn't have to wear seatbelts. And then, the law came into effect as far as wearing seatbelts or getting ticketed. Now, when you go to your car, what is the first thing that you do? You almost immediately reach for your seatbelt and you click it into place. I mean, this was not a very popular law at the time. And once people got used to it and you started to see the benefits that you reaped from kind of paying attention to this law, it became second nature. And people started to just do this as a matter of fact. So I think it's the same thing when you talk about interventions to control obesity. And I think it needs to be given a chance, and that's what people aren't doing. Food industry, in particular, the sugary soft drinks, they're making it an issue of controls being placed on your life, and that's not really so. You need to place controls on your health and your well-being, and this is more of where we should be, what we should be thinking when we think of these laws, not this heavy-handed approach that the government is taking. It's for your health, and I think that will bear out over the years as we see what happens.
Certainly, Kate, it seems there's an irony in the sense that for people to get upset that an external large institution is impacting their lives, there's some irony there, because you better believe that Coca-Cola is a large institution that's taking steps to influence your life. And you better believe that PepsiCo is a large institution that's taking steps to influence your life, right?
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree.
But certainly I can imagine some of people's hesitation, because that same other institution, aka our government, was the institution that told us that anything that contains fat is bad and we just should eat less. So it sounds like it's got to land on us in some sense, because we seem to be getting it from all angles. So what have you seen as some of the most successful approaches that individuals can take in this toxic environment where the government's telling us to eat less and the food industry is telling us to drink more sugar? What can we do as individuals?
what we can do as individuals. I mean, if you just take a long, hard look at your body and how your body responds to certain changes. I mean, just I think do a little experiment. If you want to say, all right, I'm going to see how what I put into my body affects me. And I mean, even just give it like, let's say, a good 1 week trial. Get rid of the sugary drinks. Start drinking, more water or juices or things of that nature, more natural products, and see what happens. There's nothing like experimenting on yourself, and then, I mean, this will kind of bring you to the decisions that you make, and they're your decisions. You're not necessarily doing them because, somebody passed a law or someone is trying to force a marketing study and put you into a marketing study, which is what these companies do. I mean, they do an exorbitant amount of research as far as, knowing the right buttons to press to get people to reach for a certain food.
Mm-hmm.
But once you take control of what it is that you eat, but do that for yourself. Do a little experiment and see exactly how these different changes, once you implement them into your program, you customize your diet for yourself, what happens. And I think people will see what would benefit them best. And if that's in line with, Mayor Bloomberg's plea to get rid of those sugary soft drinks, well, then you know the reason behind it. And you're more apt to see that it's relevant to your life and your health.
So we're trying these experiments. We're taking control of our health. Kate, what if I'm a mother or a father? I'm very, very busy. I'm living in a metropolitan area. Time is tight. Money might be a bit tight. And I've got some kids who I need to think about as well. What are some things I can do in that context to help my children live their best lives as well?
Well, I think you, as a parent, it's really incumbent on you to go out and find the best foods for your family. Then the best is not necessarily always the fastest or the ones that are closest at hand. I mean, fresh fruits and vegetables. If you go back even into our own history, these are products that come from the earth, the land, and these have always really worked best. I mean, a matter of time constraints that parents have to live and work under is what has undermined the eating habits. It's turned everything kind of topsy-turvy. And I think we need to go back to traditional foods and ways of doing things to realize that benefits. Sure, it's a sacrifice and there's a little, inconvenience to it, but you reap the benefits in terms of your family's health, your health, and I think that kind of balances things out in the long run.
And you mentioned that word inconvenient, which again, there's another irony there, Kate, that I'm curious to get your thoughts on. And certainly anyone who is living with diabetes knows how inconvenient it is to have diabetes, and certainly someone who's suffering from severe overweight or obesity knows how inconvenient that life can become. So certainly inconvenience is everywhere. But how do we, I guess, choose? Do we want a little temporary inconvenience right now and to maintain our health? Or do we want our health to fall apart and we're going to be inconvenienced anyway? Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah, it surely does. I mean, if you start thinking of it like that, in the long term, your health is everything. I mean, if you don't have that, you can't do anything. So you're really going to be inconvenienced if you're not a healthy person in the long run, if you think about it. And what you do today that can kind of alleviate that suffering tomorrow, it's kind of a no-brainer. That is what you do. That's what you have to choose to do. And I think if more people begin to see it that way, instead of the short-term inconvenience versus, the long-term inconvenience, I think they would make the right decision.
I love it, Kate. Certainly a lot of truth there, and certainly appreciate all that you've done and continue to do as your role as the editor-in-chief of Real Health magazine to help people live that life better. And folks, if you want to learn more about Kate, She's got a wonderful blog up at blogs.realhealth.com/Kate Ferguson. And as we mentioned earlier, she's the editor-in-chief of Real Health Magazine, doing all that she can to help people live healthier lives. So, Kate, thank you so much for doing that, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jonathan, for having me. Appreciate it.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this week's show as much as I did, and please remember this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Talk with you soon.